Hello, welcome back. Today I want to go over something that is very unpleasant and I want to share it with you so you don't have to go through it, or if you do have to go through it, you can get through it quicker than I did. A little bit of story time. My mail was stolen and I had just opened a new business bank account for my pet care business last week on the 31st. The debit cards, the welcome kit, and the PIN number were all supposed to arrive in 7 to 10 business days. It would be too soon to expect those things to have arrived, but I hadn't picked up my mail in about a week, and I thought it's time to start checking, because to be on the alert for those items. So yesterday I went to my mailbox, and keep in mind I had not checked on my mail in a week, and it was completely empty. There weren't even the junk mail flyers for the markets in there, and those come on Thursdays. Nothing was in my mailbox, and I thought, son of a gun. The mailman took all my stuff because I waited too long. And so I tried calling the post office. I was on hold there for an hour, and it was getting close to the time that I have to go and do a dog walk. So I thought I had packages that I needed to ship for eBay anyway. So I thought I'll just drive by the post office and go pick up my mail. And I didn't think it was stolen because there were no marks on the lock. There was no marks on the box. I live in a condo unit, and so we have a wall of boxes where all of our mail goes. And there was no indication that it had been tampered with. So I really didn't think it was stolen. I thought that the mailman was just getting even with me for letting it fill up too much. So I went to the post office and they didn't know anything about it. The mail wasn't there, but the mailman hadn't returned from his runs for the day. So they said, well, we'll have him call you back and we'll try and track down your mail that way. If he doesn't have it, then it's probably been stolen. I heard the stolen word, but I thought, that would be awful, but I'm sure he's got it. Never heard back from him. He didn't call. And so when I was getting ready to go to bed, I thought, I should check my bank account again just to make sure there was no activity, because I was expecting debit cards and I had received payment for last week's services and put it into that account to fund the new account. I had checked earlier in the day and there was no activity, so I wasn't too concerned when she said that the mail may have been stolen. Well, wouldn't you know, when I checked at midnight before I went to bed, someone had withdrawn all the money in the account. And they had gone to a Bank of America ATM, where I bank is Bank of America. They'd gone to a Bank of America ATM with apparently my debit card and my PIN number, and they took it all out. So I called the bank immediately. That would be the first step that I would say, is to call the bank. If you've had your mail stolen and you can see that there's activity on your accounts. Now, the average person won't have that kind of mail in their mailbox, but if you do get this type of mail stolen, you do have some protections from the bank. When I called them and I told them that my mail had been stolen and someone had fraudulently used my debit card, they said, don't worry about it. We'll start an investigation and he said, we'll most likely get that money back to you since you say that you never had the debit card. And it will take about 45 days before you see your money back. That's okay. I've got savings. 45 days is a long time to figure it out though, but it is what it is. So I went to bed, could not sleep. Have had basically no sleep last night. And it's not like it's the end of the world, but it is very frustrating when people steal from you, So woke up this morning and I started thinking about other things. Because he had the welcome kit, he may have had checks. There may be other types of fraud that they could commit. And it wasn't just my pet care bank account, but I had also opened a business bank account for my eBay sales. So I had 2 business bank accounts. Only one had been compromised that I know of for certain because of the theft. The other one I hadn't funded yet. There wasn't money in there. So I do believe that they had the debit cards and all of the information for that one. So as soon as I do put money in there, there's nothing to keep them from pulling it out other than canceling cards and things like that, which I did last night. But today, I did go ahead and cancel both of those bank accounts, opened new ones. I'm in the process of transferring over what little is in there, if any. And then I called the police, but the police said it's not a matter for the police. It's not considered a local crime. It's considered a federal crime. And because it was mail theft, you have to call the post office. And the post office line that you call that handles mail theft. And so I called and left a message for them. I tried to do it online, but because there was a financial aspect to the theft, you can't do it online. You have to talk to a person. I called them at 8 o'clock this morning. Actually, no, it was 9 o'clock because that's when the bank opened. I was on the phone with the police at 7:30, and then 9 o'clock was the post office. So couldn't get through, had to leave a message, left my message with the post office. It's now almost 3 o'clock, haven't heard back from the post office. Have been checking my emails because they'll probably email me back. Haven't gotten an email back from them. Because I live in a condo, I also notified the HOA because we do have cameras all around. We have gates, we have cameras, we have security guards. None of that really matters though. I mean, you're not safe. So I'm trying to get footage because there is a camera right by the mailbox, and I'd like to get footage for that. Because I know that the mail was stolen yesterday because it was completely empty. Every day I get at least one piece of junk mail. I still get mail from my mother and my grandmother who lived here before me. And so between the three of us, there is some junky kind of mail that comes in our mailbox every single day. And there was nothing yesterday. Also, the other reason that I believe that it was stolen yesterday was because yesterday afternoon or early evening is when they did the withdrawal on my debit card. And I don't think somebody who stole the debit card on Friday or Saturday or Sunday would have waited for fear of me canceling it and realizing that my mail had been stolen. They knew that I was watching for it, so I do believe it was yesterday. So sometime between about 10 o'clock when the mail gets delivered and about 2 o'clock when I went to go check it, there was about a 4-hour window that I want footage so that I can pass that on to the post office, see if it looks like my mailman. But there's also going to be footage at the bank. The bank teller machine is going to have footage. We have cameras by our mailbox. I honestly don't expect much to come from it. So other steps that I'm taking in addition to calling the bank, closing the accounts, calling the post office, having them investigate it. I called the HOA, so they're aware of it and they can check the footage. I did let my neighbors know, but it doesn't seem to be that any other neighbors had a problem so far. Everybody feels sorry for me, but they haven't been victimized by the same type of theft. I have no idea how they got into my box unless they had a key. I'm the only person who has a key to my mailbox. Could somebody have made a fake key? Sure. Could somebody have somehow made a fake master key? Sure. Could it be the mailman? Yeah. The fact that I just opened the bank account and they were able to time it just right to get my debit card, my PIN number, and not bother any of my neighbors, it blows my mind. But that's what happened. So the other steps that I took was, because I don't know what other mail was in the box that day, I went ahead and I put a fraud alert on my credit report. There isn't any other fraud that I am aware of on my credit report, so I feel like that's enough. If I see any speck of fraud committed on any other accounts, I'll go ahead and freeze my account. Freezing your account inhibits your ability to open new bank accounts and other lines of credit. So I don't want to do that if I don't have to, because I'm still in the process of fixing my banking situation. I may put a freeze on it when I'm done closing the old accounts and opening the new accounts. In addition to that, I'm going to be picking up my mail every day. I'm not going to let it sit there. And I'm going to be I'm going to be running my credit and making sure nothing shows up. I am going to call all of my creditors. I'm also going to call my utility companies. I got my mortgage statement today, so they don't have my mortgage, but I don't know what else they have. It's the beginning of the month. I don't know what other bills may have come. I can find out though, because I do see when the billing statements are. A lot of things come at the beginning of the month though. So just to be on the safe side, I am going to alert everybody that I have dealings with that I have been a victim of theft, and there could be potential for fraud to watch out for that. I will link in the description to this video where you can contact the post office if your mail is stolen. I will also link where you can contact to get a fraud alert or a freeze put on your credit bureaus. If you're also a victim of credit identity theft, is the next thing that I'm worried about. I do want to prevent identity theft. And so I'll be monitoring my credit very carefully after notifying all of my creditors, and that's what I would recommend doing. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing my experience with you. Don't let your mail sit. So another thing that I could do is I could go get a P.O. box. I may do that. I haven't really decided how I'm going to secure that area. I did notice about a month ago, I noticed that there were a row of mailboxes left open, as though the mailmen were there filling it, but he wasn't here, and they weren't all open. It was just one row. And so I know that living in the city, living in Los Angeles, mail theft is very popular and very prevalent, and I may switch over to a P.O. box. I do have a mailbox at a UPS store that I use for my business addresses. I just didn't use it for the banking because the banking's not public record, and I wanted to get the debit cards as soon as possible. When you use one of those mail services, as I do for my other more official documents for the business, it adds, when they get the mail, it takes as much time as normal for them to get it. But they don't let you know that you have mail for another day. They don't scan it for another 2 days after that. And so you've lost, 2 or 3 days just before you can even see what it is. And then if you want that mail, you want the physical copies, you request them to send it to you, or you can go pick it up, or they can shred it. So if you want the copies, but you don't want to get charged for picking it up because they charge you to pick up your own mail, if you want them to ship it to you, it takes another week. Even though it's just down the street, it's less than a mile from my home. But if I don't want to pay the extra to pick it up, because the pickup fee, then it just takes too long. So for documents that I need hard copies of, but I don't want the public record to show my home address, I've had things sent there. But I think a regular P.O. box for personal mail might be better. But who wants to go to all these different places to get your mail? I'd rather just get it at my mailbox. But I really happen to. What would you do? I mean, would you get a P.O. box? Would you use the existing place that takes way too long? And the guy's grumpy. The guy that I used for the address for my LLC, he's just so rude. I really don't want to go in there and have to see him. And I don't want to have to double the time it takes to get my mail. But I'd like to get my mail. If you were me, what would you do? I will post an update to this and let you know how it went with the post office and the HOA. But for now, this is all I've got. Whole lot of headache. I hope this never happens to you. It's the next day. It's Wednesday morning, and I got a much better night's sleep last night than I did the night that I found out I had been robbed. I got a full night's sleep. I feel much better today. The only thing that I needed to do today regarding the stolen mail adventure is I did need to put a freeze on my old checking account that I had started that got robbed. And the reason I had to do the freeze was because they have my routing numbers and my account numbers, and they could commit check fraud. And you don't have the same protections on check fraud as you do with credit card fraud. So I wanted to make sure that I got that handled. As soon as the money is returned to that account, I can go ahead and close it, but I need to leave it open until the investigation is done on the money that was stolen. So right now it's frozen. It was easy. I didn't have to spend 3 hours with the bank like I did yesterday. It was about a 15-minute phone call, and that's all handled. So hopefully this will be behind me soon. So today is Thursday, and I wanted to do a quick update 4 days later after my mail was stolen. We've checked the security footage and been in contact with the post office. And apparently there is a known problem of someone who has stolen a post office master key, and they're going complex to complex with this master key, and they're dressed as a mailman. So it would make sense. My box wasn't damaged, and when I went to go check the mail on Monday, it was locked, and it looked like nothing had been tampered with because they have a master key. Isn't that lovely? Well, I have an update on the stolen mail fiasco. I saw a worker from the post office today out at our mailboxes, and he was rekeying all of them. So hopefully whoever stole the master key will not be able to get into our mailboxes again. So that was good. They weren't scheduled to come until tomorrow, but they actually showed up today. So that was good to see.